Along the streets in New Orleans in the French Quarter, there are all the panhandlers sitting there. And at least they were honest panhandlers because they had their can out and they're like, money for weed, money for weed. And it was like, at least you guys are honest.
So this is a bit of a tough one. When someone comes to your office with their tales of woes and bad relationships and all the dramas that they've had, how do you start to share with them that relationships are a mirror of how we see ourselves?
So true, because they really are. I would listen to the person and just mirror back to them what I'm hearing from them. Usually what comes up are personal issues. And so then I can see how they might be having issues in their relationship because they show up in the relationship that they're exchanging with me. And when I'm able to take what they just gave to me and mirror it back to them, I often get, I never thought of it that way. I didn't see it that way. Now I can go back. So you mean to tell me I need to work on me? And so when they can see this stuff that they're seeing in somebody else as being the issue, when they can see that that person is only mirroring them, and that if they do their work, what the mirror is showing back at them is a different them. So like attracts like. If you're a wealthy, well-groomed, all put together person, you're not gonna go around looking for someone in the gutter or hanging on the side of the road with a sign out, help me, You're gonna look to attract what you are better. We're all striving for better. Yeah. So it begins in the mirror. When we begin to work on ourselves, improve our lot, and make that a better life, then we can look for and expect that light to show back up with us.
I was just in New Orleans, and I have to tell this kind of funny story because walking along the streets in New Orleans in the French Quarter, there are all the panhandlers sitting there. And at least they were honest panhandlers because they had their can out and they're like, money for weed, money for weed. And it was like, at least you guys are honest. You know, I think that the thing for me about the mirror thing, and this question really kind of bristles me. It kind of irritates me because I've had those times in my life when I have had to recognize that that person I was the most angry with or frustrated with was doing exactly what I am and want to do. That is a blow to your ego.
Yep.
That is a huge blow to your self-esteem, and it's one that you don't want to take a look at. And so, you know, when you can get to that realization, I think is when you can start moving forward and start realizing, okay, I'm seeing this in myself. So, you know, that's got to be, something I can start working on. But I also have to backtrack a little bit and say that what I think is difficult with when you say what you see in them you don't like in yourself is hard when you take it too literal.
Yeah.
For example, let's say you're in a relationship and he cheats on you and you're going, well, how is this a mirror of me? I am not a cheater. I'm not a cheater. I did not do that. I think that's being too literal with it. You maybe need to look deeper and say, what caused him to cheat? Was it something in his self-esteem, in his psyche,
Yes.
something missing from his background, his childhood? Do you have similar traits? Does this person love themselves?
Yes.
Do you love yourself? Is that why you're staying in this maybe toxic relationship?
Good point. Good.
Yes.
I think what we're really talking about is knowing the difference between me and the other person, or differentiation. How I can really separate myself and yet be connected to real people. And it goes with positive characteristics too. For example, if I'm honest, I tend to see, and this has really bitten me in the past, if I'm honest, I think other people are honest, and that's naive on I've actually taken that to a fault. Or perhaps if you're a monogamous person, it comes easily for you. You can make up everybody's monogamous, and some of us aren't wired that way.
That's right.
So you have to be able to separate yourself. But here's the thing about how to use this. We like people who like us, but we love people who see the best in us. So when I've realized this I had to work with this guy one time, and he just annoyed me, a big part of it. And I thought, how am I going to do this? And finally I thought, I'm going to find the part that I love and can really care about, and that's the part I'm going to relate to. And as I started relating to that part, of course, everything shifted. If it works that we see others as we see ourselves, then when I start loving that part of you, I think it does translate to me that I start loving that part of me and myself.
That's right.
And I think that's really important.
When I talk about mirroring, I liken it to ballroom dancing. I took ballroom dancing lessons, and there's a frame. You have to keep a frame. Otherwise, the dance isn't going to work. the person that's following doesn't know where they're being led, and the person that's leading doesn't know where to take the follower. And to me, that's analogous to mirroring, because if you don't have your own boundaries, then you're not going to mirror properly. And if you're codependent or enabled or just see yourself through this other person, you're not authentic in your own dance. I think it can go either way as the extreme, but in the middle, I always think about that frame. And frames go around mirrors too. So
the mirrors in our lives are really a reflection of us, right? And our job when we sense that someone's reflecting back to us is to pay attention, to stay resilient, and be positive about it, and to do our work.